Hey, it's me, Steve. It is July 19, 2017. Time is 12:01. Temperature is 89 degrees Fahrenheit out. And this is not a geo rant, but I just want to do this as a separate video. I've said it in my geofile series, and I've said it in previous geo rants. But I just want to touch quickly on the whole thing about what is science and what is pseudoscience. There's an old saying, if you can't show it, you don't know it. And I'm going to address one specific type of pseudoscience right here. But basically, there's some things to remember that are important in order to have a scientific idea or to build upon a pre-existing scientific idea. You got to remember, whatever your observations, experiments, tests are, they need to be reproducible. Now, there's some things you can't, like for ethics reasons, like with some psychology studies. All right, there's just some things you can't ethically experiment upon, so they rely a lot on case studies. Case studies are kind of on the borderline whether they're scientific or not. But there are some things that are definitely not science, or kind of mask themselves as being scientific because they present a good argument, but not really. But anyway, if you can't reproduce results, you can't get what's called consensus. Consensus is basically where you have so much evidence for something and the test has been verified that any objective person has to concede to that work. They have to sit there and accept it. It's not the same as belief because it's built upon evidence. And if eventually you find out that idea is incorrect, then they'll have to flip the other way or a different point of view. But consensus is key to science. If you don't have consensus, you're not really doing science, all right? Now, I'm going to pick on the electric universe people here because this is an idea that extends back to late 70s, I believe. And they've had 40 years now to show it, and they haven't. And how do I know the electric universe idea is pseudoscience? Well, first I'm going to just tell you kind of real quickly what it is. Basically, it's this concept that the universe was shaped and formed because of electromagnetism and not gravity. They have some weird ideas that the sun doesn't run on nuclear fusion and all this other stuff. And at first, the argument seems kind of compelling. And they sit there and say that they produce peer-reviewed articles in scientific papers, but I can't find any. They use plasma in the universe, that's out in the universe, as evidence, but all those papers are actually within the realms of physics. There's nothing odd about those papers. Well, like I said, they've had 40 years to show it now, and they haven't. So, well, what's that mean? Well, I'm sure electromagnetism does play a big part in the universe. Obviously it does. Light's everywhere. We use it to see. But does it form the universe? Are stars powered off it? No. They clearly are not. And this whole idea is starting to enter the realm of woo-woo. All right? What do I mean by woo-woo? Well, there's key things you can pick up on to see if someone's full of shit or not. Well, actually, I shouldn't say full of shit. I should say if they're trying to present pseudoscience as actual science. All right? Well, if you can't publish in peer-reviewed papers, it's not because there's a vast conspiracy or because you're being discriminated against. And I've heard flat earthers try that shit too, yet I don't know if any have actually tried. And a lot of people are just saying, oh yeah, it's this club and I'm not going to publish scientifically because I won't. Well, you know what? As somebody with a professional license and only a bachelor's degree, I've managed to get papers in peer-reviewed journals. So it's not impossible. So that whole, it's a buddy club and there's a conspiracy and all that shit, it's horse shit. All right? If your idea isn't accepted as in a paper, it's probably because it doesn't hold up to scientific scrutiny. All right? You can't remember. Science defines the natural world using the naturalistic method. If you can't observe it, test it, experiment upon it, it's not science, all right? Now, the electrical universe thing kind of could be tested, and if there was really electromagnetism controlling everything out there in the universe and every nook and cranny of space, it would be pretty easy to detect. And it's just not there. So they did what most people who have pseudoscience do. Instead of publishing in peer-reviewed journals and then trying to get the word out, they try to get the word out first. All right. And by publishing books, now books are a good resource, but quite honestly, anyone can publish a book. There's no standard for it. All you got to do is get it published. So books aren't really reliable as scientific sources. And they've started beating the trail. They have a lot of videos on YouTube and all this, but if you watch those videos, even the ones that are taking it seriously, the ones that are still trying to prove it as a science, you can see they don't really have anything because they've developed all these tests and these experiments and nothing has happened. I mean, they've not been able to detect this. So you can't sit there and keep pushing an idea. I mean, it got to the hypothesis stage, but it didn't get past that. And if you keep pushing it, if you get to the point where you're claiming conspiracy or martyrdom or discrimination, and you haven't published anything in a journal, and you're just pumping out books that are designed with covers more like for sci-fi novels, you're peddling bullshit. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because you'll see it a lot more come up in my videos and stuff.